Hey y'all, today we'll be going over two different techniques for making the triple crochet. The foundational one you'll see on the right side here. We'll go over just the standard base way to do that crochet stitch. It does have a bit of a floppier side, which if your pattern calls for that or you prefer the look, you can absolutely use this method. Or if you're looking for something that has a little bit more firmness to the edges, the second technique we'll go through will be how to make a straight edge triple crochet, kind of alleviating some of this poof and just making that edge that will hold in each of our different crochet stitches. So we can go ahead and get started with the foundational technique. All right, I identified the end of that yarn. So we will make a slip knot and we will go ahead and chain 8. Alrighty, we have 8 chained. And with the triple crochet, to make that first turning stitch, we usually go through the 5th. So if we're wanting to go through our 5th stitch, I shouldn't flip this just yet. I'm going to pinch my last one and add on 4. And then just out of personal preference, I prefer to flip this over and go through the back loop right here. So before I do that, I'm going to yarn over twice, come through that back loop, yarn over again, and now I have 4 on my hook. I'm going to yarn over and go through 2. So I'll have 3 on the hook, yarn over through 2 again, and my 2 left, and I'll yarn over and go through. This is going to be the first stitch in our row, and because this is so floppy and sometimes it's hard to distinguish between where we want to start and stop, I'm going to mark it. And I'll just continue on by yarning over twice and going through that next back loop. All right, we're going to yarn over. So we have 4, we go through 2, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over through 2. And we just continue on. Pop through that next back loop. Split a little. And so when I say that I'm going to go through the back loop, it really comes down to personal preference. I do like how the edging is formed with the back loop. So when you're going through the top loops or like little V shape, you're going to get something more along the lines of, say, just this edge. Whereas with the back loops, we're basically forcing that front loop onto the edging. It makes more of a braided look. I think it looks a little bit tidier, but again, it's personal preference between if you go through the top or, I guess it could be bottom or back loop of your foundation chain. Alrighty, so we're almost to that end. And remember, we yarn over and just go through the back loop, and then when we yarn over, we can start going through our 2. And finally, we have to go through that last back one. We'll yarn over twice, yarn over, And then we're going to go through our 2s, and that completes our first row. And we can double check by counting where this safety pin is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, so to turn in the more fundamental triple crochet stitch, we're going to go and we're going to chain 3, 4 to turn. Now I have seen, and it's really personal preference or pattern dependent, I've seen it where you chain 3, and I've seen it where you chain 4. So for this, because we're staying with that foundation, we'll go ahead and chain 4, and we are going to start in our second row. So we're going right into that first loop right there. So we will continue to yarn over twice, come right into the first loop, yarn over, and then we're going to go through our 2s, and that would be our first stitch. And again, we'll go ahead and mark this and just continue down the row. So yarn over twice and go through that very next stitch. There we are. And from here, it's pretty much just rinse and repeat all the way down. You could chain 4 or chain 3 if you really prefer it, and continue the other way. And we end up with something that looks like this. So that would be our foundational triple crochet stitch or treble crochet stitch. And we'll go ahead and continue on just to see that other technique where we're going to keep these edges a little straighter. All right, so with this technique, of course, we'll start with a slip stitch. And again, we will chain 8. Alrighty. So with this, we're going to be doing it a little bit differently. I'm going to chain 1 extra one to turn, flip over, and go through this back loop. And I'm going to make a single crochet. So that will be my first single crochet. What I'm going to do now, if you can see right here in this post we've made of the single crochet, so whenever we have these, we'll have this kind of V shape. This would be our post. What we're going to do is add another crochet into the post in this left side loop to basically build our side. So we would just slip into here, and that will be our second. And then in the next post, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to slip into the leftmost loop, and we've now made 3. For this version, I'll go ahead and do it with a count of 3. Of course, you could add another to get that 4, but again, it comes down to how the pattern turns out, which you prefer. Both options are valid, but we'll go ahead and do 3, and I'm going to mark this just so that I don't lose where my crochet is as my first stitch. And we will continue on with our single crochet, or excuse me, our triple crochet. So we'll yarn over twice, come through this back, yarn over. We have 4 on our hook. We're going to yarn over. We're going through 2 each time, and that will be our second. To go through the next, we'll yarn over twice, go through that next back loop, and yarn over. So we have 4, we yarn over and go through 2, we yarn over and go through 2, and yarn over through 2, and we just continue on through the foundation chain. not going to push through extra yarns or split them. All right, 2 left. And finally through this last guy, he's kind of hard to see. All right, and we will check our count real quick with that first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So again, like with the beginning, instead of chaining 4, we are going to turn over and we're going to put a single crochet into our very first stitch to start building that up. So we'll come under here and make our single crochet. So as you can see, we have our post right here, not this loop. This is going to be the post. This is the right side and the left side. We will go through that left side loop and we will do it one more time to make a count of 3. And we built up that wall, so we can add our stitch marker and we'll go ahead and continue on down the second row. So yarn over twice. And from here, it's really just rinse and repeat. We'll go to the end, turn, add our single crochet wall, and continue on. Oh, that's a little knot. Alrighty. Alright, so this is going to be the triple crochet with straight edge method. And as you can see, it's going to have a little bit more rigid sides. If we compare it to our normal triple crochet, we have more of these edges kind of popping out. So this is going to really alleviate that issue. And we won't have the same edging.